your mind. And you guys you're like, what is he talking about? You have no idea. You've seen a violin and a cello and a piano before, but you have never seen this before. So Eric and I have been working on this for a while to try to bring these guys here, and it has happened, and it's a small miracle that it has. So I'm going to invite up Eric's brother, Stephen, who's one of our presenters here, Dr. Genuis, and he is going to introduce our presenters tonight.
Thank you, Thomas. Thank you, Thomas. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Stephen Genuis, and it's a great honor and privilege for me to introduce my baby brother, Eric. We have 4 boys in our family, and I'm the eldest, and he's the youngest. But we have remained very close throughout the years, and so it's a real privilege for me to introduce him. There's many things that I could say about Eric. I could read off his CV, and I could tell you about his various accomplishments, and they are many. He, got a degree with distinction from the Royal Conservatory of Music in Toronto. I could talk about many concerts. He's played all over the place and played with various orchestras and that. So from an academic point of view, he certainly has the qualifications. But I thought I would just share a couple things about him personally instead, as his older brother. The first thing was that because I was a bit older, I had, I was a bit further along in sort of my path, and I went to medical school and so on, so I moved out of the house and moved to Western Canada. I had taken piano. We had studied with the same teacher, and so, when I was out here in Western Canada, I heard that he was, going into music and playing music, and I thought, that's fine. And he would excitedly talk about his music, and I thought, that's cool, that's fine. But then one day I went to visit him, and he said, I want you to listen to a piece I've just created. So I said, sure, sort of to be polite. And I sat down, and he put the headphones on, and I was breathless. And tears came to my eyes, and it was just incredible. And then he played me another one, and I realized, what an incredible gift from the Lord that he had. And I could only describe it as just incredible beauty. And so, if I had to describe my brother, there's many things I could say, but there's just 2 things I will, just in this brief introduction. There's one, that he loves the Lord and wants to serve the Lord and to use his gift to bring beauty and joy and warmth to those that he encounters. And I believe that the Lord, radiates his beauty through my brother. And so I'm very, very admiring of that. The second thing is that not only does he love the Lord, but he loves others. He has played and ministered to people all over the place. In his concerts, he talks to people and tries to share, and he shares his music. But the one thing is, I have heard so many experiences about when, at his own cost, he's gone to prisons and played for people who are sometimes in an incredibly dark place in their lives. And he's gone to, maximum security places, and he brings normalcy, and he brings the Lord, and he brings joy and beauty to the hearts, and has touched so many people by that. So I'm very proud of my younger brother, and it's with, I'm his biggest fan, and it's with incredible admiration, respect, and love that I introduce Eric Genuis.
That was awesome. Thank you so much, Steve. I, too, am a big fan of my brother Steve. Our last name is Genuis. It looks like genius. I always say my brother Steve deserves my last name. So, ladies and gentlemen, I am so thrilled about being here. When Thomas invited me, I thought, Calgary, this is great. I'm Canadian. I live in the States, but I am Canadian. So to play for my Canadian brothers and sisters is awesome. And I have two of my great brothers here and their beautiful wives, and one of my beautiful and wonderful brother-in-laws here with his beautiful wife, and one of my nieces, so it's great. I'm playing for family. This is awesome. But I'll tell you, it's not always that clean and easygoing when it comes to family. I was playing this really high-end concert in Los Angeles once. There I was, Disney hall, big crowd, big sound, big music. I was given a 12-minute standing ovation. So I called my wife. I said, Leslie, they're still clapping. This is awesome. And she said, that's great. When you're on your way home, please bring diapers, potatoes. It's not right. It really sounds glamorous. Oh, you're a musician. That's fantastic. It's not always that glamorous. Why, not too long ago, I was playing a concert and there was a lady in the front row. And I started to play and the baby began to cry. So I turned up the volume, I played louder. The baby cried louder. It's no problem. I turned up the volume. I got louder, the baby got louder. Finally, the mother had enough. She stood up, she started walking out. I said, no, ma'am, you do not have to leave. Your child's not bothering me. She said, no, but you're bothering my child. And she kept on. It's not always glamorous, that I promise you. Steve mentioned that I play in prisons, and I do. I play in a lot of maximum security prisons. This young lady's come with me to several maximum security prisons. It's awesome. It's great. So there I was playing one time in this really tough prison, and I thought, wow, these guys probably had a pretty bad day. So I told my musicians we're going to play really fast and really loud. So we turned up the music really loud, and we played really fast. And there's always one smart aleck. So we're in a room of about 200 prisoners, and one guy said, yeah, that's pretty good. He said, but do you know any Elvis? Ridiculous thing to say, and then it hit me like a ton of bricks. I said, yes, I know one Elvis song, and it's called Jailhouse Rock. I got to play Jailhouse Rock in a maximum security prison. She's won international competitions. He's won international competitions. But my claim to fame, Jailhouse Rock, ladies and gentlemen. It's such an honor to perform for you this evening. I just want to share just a little quick story and then we'll start. Ladies and gentlemen, music. We all have a concept of music. We all have our experience of music. We all have our favorite song, memories, and so on. But it's interesting because when I was a boy and I wanted to hear music, I would. Think about what you had to do. So back then, you had to go to the record store and buy a record. You had to save up the money and then, your dad would come home from work and say, we got to hurry because the record store is going to close. So the inconvenience of going to the record store, buying the record, coming home, was big. And then the idea of buying one song, unheard of. And then you took that record and put that record on a record player and sat in the room if you wanted to hear the music. You didn't walk around with a stereo system. But then, ladies and gentlemen, came the boombox. There are going to be two things in life that we are always going to be embarrassed about. One is the fashion of the 70s. Two is the boombox. We would actually walk around with this piece of furniture and we'd crank it up, and it didn't matter if the music was distorted because we had our music. Ladies and gentlemen, if I walked around with anything else, you'd think that's crazy, but somehow, socially, it became acceptable to walk around with music. What is it about music? Last year, my son went to Peru and did some mission work while finishing high school. Walking down the street, Lima, Peru, a friend of his said, hey, Sam, check out this piece. Sam took the headphones off his friend, put it on his headphones and on his head and said, that song's cool. Within 30 seconds, what did he do? Took his phone. Remember a phone? A phone when I was growing up was something on the wall that had a cord about this long so that your mother could hear every conversation that you had with your girlfriend. Now you take your phone and download any style of music, anytime, anywhere. You can have that hyper exposure to music. So it begs the question, what is music? Is there a parent alive who is not concerned about the music that their children are listening to? What is music? Confucius said, if you want to know the morality of a nation, let me hear the music. He didn't say, let me talk to the philosophers. He didn't say, let me read the textbooks. He didn't say any of that. He said, let me hear the music. What is it about music? Plato said if I was given the choice to govern a nation's laws or to govern the music, I'd govern the music. Ladies and gentlemen, music is a language. It is a language that touches the heart, mind, and soul in ways that words can't touch. It is my hope in every note that I write that I'm so honored to perform, to bring that joy, to bring that beauty, to bring that hope, and to bring that inspiration to you. These soloists can solo on any stage in the world. They are world class. Absolutely world class. It is such an honor to have them perform my music. I will introduce them later. This first piece is Conquest. It is a violin and cello conversation with piano accompaniment. This is Conquest. Robert, we're in the mains, right? This next piece, ladies and gentlemen, is a piece called Serenata Triste. Now, very often when I compose, sometimes these things take months and years because I'll compose and put them away and then resurrect them and then put them away. And it's just sort of an evolution of writing, if you will. This next piece I started and finished within a few hours. Our third baby, my beautiful wife, we have 4 living children, but our third one was born and lived for only 4 hours. And as our baby was sort of living and struggling and breathing, my wife held this boy and put his little head to her cheek and then just started moving back and forth. And it was a mother consoling her dying son, but it was like she was dancing with him. So this next piece is called Serenata Triste, and really what it is it's like a waltz. You're going to hear sort of a gentle waltz, but it's not a... Triste in French is sad, but this isn't meant to be a pathetic sadness, but more of an endearing and longing sadness. This piece is Serenata Triste. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. This next piece is a vocal work. Now, this next piece is about one of the members of my family. So, I have 4 children. I have 2 boys who are 20 and 18. Thank you for your condolences. Don't get me wrong, I love my boys, but I am really hoping and praying one day God gives my boys the great gift of common sense. You ever look closely at your boys and you think, you know what, supposedly in a couple years you're going to have all that it takes to live on your own, and then you take a close look and you conclude, no chance. Anyway, I love them, great guys, but then I have these 2 beautiful daughters. My older daughter is 13. Her name is Celestine. She's adopted. I call her Celestine, my little queen. So when I tell people that I adopted a girl, they think I'm an expert on adoption. So they come to me and they say, you know, tell me, how should I tell my child that they're adopted? And I said, I don't know, but I'll tell you how not to tell them. So there we were, new baby, and my wife was saying, you know, Eric, I think we should tell her. And I said, I don't know, let's see, maybe we can wait a bit, you know, just let her get the hang of things. And so this went on. My wife is, Eric, I really think it's time to tell her. And I said, I don't know, let's see, we can hold off. And my wife's on me, Eric, we should tell her. I said, I think we can wait a little while. She's only 4 days old. Anyway, so we go on like this about adopting a girl, and then, you know what, we just kind of let it go. And then one day there I was, in concert. And I didn't think she was really going to get it. So I announced about my beautiful adopted daughter, Hope. So, right after the show, there's my beautiful wife holding the hand of my adopted little girl, and my baby is Anastasia. Anastasia is 11. She has Down syndrome. Smartest one of the family. Anyway, so they're holding hands, these 3 beautiful women. And a lady goes right for Celestine and says, are you Celestine? My daughter goes, yes. She says, oh, then you're the one who's adopted. Celestine shot a look at this woman, and here she is holding hands with her Down syndrome sister. So she looks at the woman, looks at Anastasia, looks at the woman, looks at Anastasia, and said, I'm not adopted. I think she's adopted. And I thought, oh boy, I got to put an end to this. So I take my daughter downstairs, and I, like most men, nothing really smart came to mind. So I just started talking. And then I started just telling stories about famous adopted people, and I just kept on rambling. And finally she says to me, Daddy, are you trying to tell me I'm adopted? I said, that's right, baby. She said, oh, that's great news. And I thank God. She says, that's great news. Oh, wait till I tell Mom. Family life. So then my youngest girl has Down syndrome. Beautiful, beautiful. Now, I could sit here all night long and tell you the beautiful things about Down syndrome, but I want to just share, it's best to tell a story. Just let me go dark for 1 minute, and then we'll tell a story. Ladies and gentlemen, the Netherlands just recently announced that by 2030, they want to be Down syndrome free. We're allowing this to happen. How have we come to view life? Because when Hitler said the same thing, ladies and gentlemen, we called him a monster. How is it 60 years later, it's now compassionate? How does that happen? Already in this country, I'm living in the United States. In the United States, greater than 93% do not make it out of the womb. And just because of maybe some young ears here, we'll just leave it at that, 93%. Isn't that amazing? It's amazing. So I want to tell you, instead of sitting here and complaining about that, I think, you know what, everything is disposable. I'll never forget, we bought a first grand piano. Never owned a grand piano, and my boys came and said, wow, a grand piano. And I thought, wow. I said, son, you know where that grand piano is going to be one day, don't you? He said, no, where? I said, in the garbage. It's just a tool that we have for now. You can look at anything that way, not life. But I want to share with you a fun story. So we go as a family, and we play in a lot of nursing homes, because all my children play. My 20-year-old plays violin. Now, I'll tell you right now, we don't sound anything like this. I mean, my boys, one plays violin, one plays cello, and they like to play, but they don't love it. So they practice, about 5 minutes a year, and it sounds like it. And so we're there playing, and maybe they hit 5% of the notes. So my son's, the big tough muscles guy now, and one of them talks like Rocky Balboa. So he says, hey, Dad, get my violin. And so he's wearing this cut-off shirt, and I think, I'll pick my battles. I'll let him, show off his muscles. So he's playing, and I said, son, I love you. He says, thank you, Dad, I love you too. I said, you sounded terrible. You hit less than 5% of the notes. He said, yeah, I know, but when I was born, did you see my triceps? Who cares about your triceps? You sounded horrible. Anyway, it's a disaster. But the people, they politely clap. And then I started catching on. I would say to the audience, ladies and gentlemen, we have one more piece for you. And then I got a standing ovation. And I thought, wow, they really love my music. And then the lady said, no, we're just thankful you're leaving. Anyway, so we're playing. And we finish playing, and we pack up, and we had to go through the hospital to get to the parking lot. And I tell my kids, after we perform in a prison, nursing home, wherever we're at, we're going for ice cream. So I said, start thinking of your flavors. So they're thinking, everything and, whatever. And so we're walking, and there was a lady in the hospital just outside of a room that was sobbing, and there was chaos. Something had just happened inside this room. So I told my children, wow, this is pretty chaotic. It's pretty intense. Say a short prayer for her, and let's keep walking to honor her privacy. Sounds like a good idea. So they did. So as we walk past, I thought, I better check what Anastasia's doing. I turn around. Anastasia walks right up to this woman. My little girl with Down syndrome walks right up to this woman. And she forgot the, respective space class. She somehow missed that class. She walked right up to this woman and started sobbing just as hard. So here you have these two people, never met. One can't even speak. And they're sobbing. The woman picks up my baby and holds her. My little girl put her little arms clumsily around the woman's neck and just held. And so they sat there and they cried for a few minutes and they shared some words. And then she put my daughter down, and my daughter came and took my hand, and I just sat there and stared at the woman. And all I could think about was, how old was I when I stopped feeling for people? How old was I? And people say, oh, what could you have done? There's a lot. You could say, can I get you a glass of water? Can I sit here with you? Can I call somebody to come and help you? Can I call a family member? Can I go pick somebody up? Can I drive you somewhere? Do you want me to just sit here in case you need something? Can I get you something comfortable? Are you hungry? Are you thirsty? There's lots you can do to engage, to give them the opportunity, to let them know what they need. I took none of those opportunities. My daughter took every one of them. Who's handicapped? She'll never be on the front cover of Vogue magazine. She'll never, win Entrepreneurial Woman of the Year. My daughter loves so beautifully and so deeply. So when I think of what the Netherlands think, all I can conclude is, what do you want to be free from? Exactly when you say you want to be a culture that is Down syndrome free. This next piece is a piece that I wrote for my little angel. But maybe in the eyes of the world, she may be a little disguised. But I know she's my little angel. This next piece is called Angel in Disguise. next piece is Panis Angelicus. Now, the narrative to this piece, it's sacred narrative. This piece was written about 1,000 years ago, the words that is, was written 1,000 years ago. I just want to comment on it very quickly. Panis Angelicus. Panis is bread, Angelicus is angels, the bread of angels. Ladies and gentlemen, how can you even start to write, how can any word start to match in order to give great honor to the mystery of Panis Angelicus? You can't. As soon as you use words, you fail. The topic is so sublime, so beautiful, so meaningful, so mystical, and so beyond our reach. Yet they think it's Thomas Aquinas, but they don't know for certain. But 1,000 years ago, this narrative was written. But if you notice, it was written in poetry form. Why didn't the author just write some sort of a narrative? Why didn't he just write an essay about it, let's say? He wrote it in poetry form because even the way that the words are read have a certain rhythm, have a certain melody to it, which elevates the mystery, which brings about the beauty, and therefore gives great meaning to the words. Sometimes I get very concerned about how we use very sublime words in very mediocre ways. So this great narrative was written 1,000 years ago, and the whole purpose of the music, and many composers have written music behind Panis Angelicus, many great composers. But the purpose of the work when you write music to something like this is to elevate that great mystery so the listener has an experience of that. And so the words for this piece were written 1,000 years ago, and the music, I finished about a year and a half ago. This piece is Panis Angelicus. Thank you very much. This next piece, ladies and gentlemen, is a vocal work. It is a vocal and a violin duo. Now, Amanda is a tremendous, tremendous singer. You heard her first piece was a bit more modern in style. The second piece was more classical. This one's a bit more operatic. Now, there are no words to this piece. It's called a vocalese. Please don't feel sorry for the singer thinking the poor girl's nervous. She forgot the words. There's no words. She sits on a vowel and her voice becomes like an instrument. And I just want to make one comment. Ladies and gentlemen, it's very, very, very difficult for singers to cross over different styles and do each successfully. This young lady is remarkable at all three. Very honored. This is Amanda, ladies and gentlemen.
I just wanted to just reflect a little bit on what we've been talking about today, and that is our vocation to love. As physicians, in whatever our professions in our family life, we've been talking a lot about how to love. And I wanted to give you guys a gift tonight by inviting these musicians. So that you have a sense of what it is to be loved. So here we have musicians loving us with their music. And we really are very grateful for that, and we can take that home with us. Here's the catch, and this is my confession time. I did this without having the budget for it. And I couldn't convince anybody to bring these guys because of a concert, and they're thinking, a concert? What are you kidding me? Why would we bring these people from the four corners of the U.S. to play for us? So I hope they have convinced you. But because we don't have the budget for it, we do have to send them home. They can't stay here. So these little baskets on the table are not for your little garbage, but to send these guys home. So I hope that you can be generous and help me out in sending these guys back. So if you want to pass the baskets around, that would support these guys tremendously. And you know, Eric has a family at home, and he can't just stay with his brother here indefinitely. He does have to go back to his own family. So please help me send them home with those baskets. If everybody, once you can do check or cash, and Eric even can do Visa as well. He's got CDs at the back, so I'm sure a lot of you will want to buy those CDs. Don't let him bring those home with him. He can bring himself, but not the CDs. So he's going to close now, and I know that you'll help me thanking him by helping to send him home. And again, I want to emphasize this was a gift to you guys from them. We worked hard to get them here, and again, this last song just to remind you of this vocation to love, and they are loving us through it.
Thank you, Thomas. Ladies and gentlemen, when I started doing this music, I just have a policy. I sort of consulted the board, which is me, and my wife, and I will never say no based on a budget. So I go in these prisons, and I come here, and Thomas said, we can't pay you. So I'm 48, I know one day this will come to an end. And I know this is the one that I am terrible at everything else I do in life. I can't even tie my own shoes. But I have a little gift of sharing music, and I will share it wherever I'm invited. So it was such an honor to perform for you. We do have one more piece. Just before we play it, ladies and gentlemen, I would love to introduce these incredible, incredible musicians. Our violinist this evening is Eric Wiest. Our cellist this evening is Shannon Hayden. And our wonderful vocalist is Amanda Kingston. Ladies and gentlemen, I do have CDs available. I was fortunate to go and perform and record with the Slovak National Symphony Orchestra, and so I do have recordings there. So on the table there are 3 full orchestral works, and then there's 1 just piano and violin, and 1 full orchestra and vocal works. And so a lot of the pieces that you heard tonight are actually scored for full orchestra. As Thomas said, we do take cash, check, and credit card. And the special tonight is we take credit card and we give it back. You know, in America, people always say, boy, that's a good deal. Anyway, okay, ladies and gentlemen, I just want to share with you a couple of stories. So as I mentioned earlier, I play in a lot of prisons. Now, when you go into the prisons, I mean, it's quite interesting. It's kind of eerie sometimes, but it's quite interesting. I want to share with you, sort of a couple of stories. So I was playing in a prison, and things don't always go as smoothly as possible. Now, these guys don't know a violin from a hockey stick. Neither do some of the Calgary Flames, I hear. Anyway, so what happened? I'm just kidding. I'm a Toronto Maple Leaf fan. If I didn't take at least one shot, what would this be? So we go and we play. And we're playing one time, and this one man stood up. Now, when I'm in the prisons, a lot of these guys, they love rap, but they don't know much about other music. They think MC Hammer is classical music, So anyway, we're playing, and this one guy stands up, and he throws up his arms, and he yells, "I forgot what hope felt like." Interesting word. I forgot what hope felt like. Another time we were playing, this true story, this one man gets up, walks over to my violinist. It wasn't Eric, or else the story would be very strange. It was not Eric. And then the man sat down and walked over to this young lady who was my violinist, sat down again, and then walked over to her in the middle of the piece and just hugged her. And I thought, can you wait till the end of the song? And then he just says, "We never get this." He's right. See, we grew up in this culture, and we think, oh, everybody gets to experience this sort of thing to a certain degree or another. It's not true. It's not true. So that's why a big part of what I'm really trying to do, ladies and gentlemen, is go and play in places where they would never, ever get to hear musicians at this caliber. Share with you a couple other stories. Playing in last, really tough. Now, when I play in prisons, I make my microphone cord about 200 feet long. So if this was the prison, I walk in between them. So the last one was in Orlando, Florida. So we're playing, and there was one, I think you were with me, Shannon. There was one it was like a very, I'm always cracking joke in the prison. Sometimes it's, it kind of gets me in trouble, but for the most part, we're in good shape. So we're playing, and they start announcing the houses to come in. And, house number 1 come down, so house number 1 comes down, and house number 3 comes down. I tell the guy, "What's the matter with you? You forget how to count? What happened to house number 2? And you learn that you don't combine houses because of the gangs. So there's a whole prison life there, and it's quite interesting. So there's 2 gentlemen at the back, and they were sitting like this. Didn't laugh once, didn't clap, and I'm walking up and down there with the cord, and I'm looking at these 2 guys, and they just stared at me the whole afternoon. And I thought, okay. So after the concert in prisons, I always take a question and answer. And one question that always comes up, always, why would you come in here and play? And I remember the first time I was asked that, I thought I'd be a smart aleck, and I answered, well, the only difference between you and me is that you got caught. But really that says something about how he feels about himself. Why would you come in here and play for me? What, are you not worthy of me coming in here and playing for you? So tough. It's so tough. This one guy that was sitting there like this in this prison full of gangs, at the end of the concert, he put up his hand and he stood up and he was going to ask a question. I thought, okay, here comes drama, because he didn't have any response whatsoever. And he said to me, "I've been in here most of my life." And he said, "This concert almost made it worth it." Now, why such powerful responses, ladies and gentlemen? Here's what's interesting. The prisons are the ugliest places on the planet. When they go and hire an architect, the guy who designs the ugliest building gets the job. I promise you. There is absolutely nothing. When I walk into this beautiful hall or into your house, you know what I see? I see beautiful colors. I see beautiful curtains, beautiful chandeliers. I see, carpets. I see things, the lighting that makes you feel warm in a home. I see pictures of your family, things that inspire me and uplift me, and I see love sort of infused into these places. In the prison, there is absolutely nothing at all that is beautiful, that is humanly uplifting or inspiring at all. Nothing. Nothing. The way they speak is ugly, the way they speak to each other, the way the guards speak to them, the way the guards regard them, the way that they regard one another, the way they saunter, I wouldn't even call it walking, is ugly. It breaks my heart. They have hallways that are maybe the width of this stage, and on one side, they have tape going down, and it's about 1.5 feet long, and on the other side, 1.5 feet wide, and on the other side, 1.5 feet wide. So they walk down this side, and this side they walk up, and they don't dare step out of that. They don't dare step out of that tape. I understand the need for security. I understand the need for all that. So very often afterwards, when I play in prisons or so on, I get a call from press or whatever, and they say, so how do you see reform? And I thought, wow, that's a great question. How do I see reform? Here's what's interesting, ladies and gentlemen. Here's how I see it. Oh, here's what's interesting. At that concert where that guy said to me, he said, it almost made it worth it being here my whole life. He said, and then he said something that I'll never forget. This guy with tattoos all over his face. Tough, tough, tough. And he says to me, why did I have no control over my emotions? I mean, I was almost in tears listening to this guy speak. So then the psychologist comes up to me and says, why after 3 years I couldn't get him to say one word, and after an hour and a half, you're getting this guy to open up. And I said, well, what are you doing? He says, I'm counseling him. I said, it's not working. What is it? Ladies and gentlemen, here's my simple-minded, sort of simple observation. They call me and they say, how do you see reform? If you really, really care about reform, now whether they deserve it or not, people all have their judgments. The question is, you really want reform? You cannot strip beauty away from a man, away from a woman, away from a person. You cannot strip everything that is inspiring to them and then say, okay, now behave in a way that is uplifting and good and human. Can't. So there is nothing. So a lot of these guys, this is their first, to hear Shannon on the cello, Eric on the violin, to hear Amanda sing, this is their first encounter with something beautiful, and they react. They react. A lot of these hardened guys react very strongly. This is not a talk about prison. This is a talk about our culture. I have 4 children growing up in our culture. Are we providing a culture for my kids, for your kids, that is beautiful, that is inspiring? It's up to us. You know what? Long gone are the days where we sit back with our hands in our pockets and say, boy, isn't that terrible? Why don't they do something about it? Who's they? Us. It's us. It's us. Can't complain. You don't have time. Ladies and gentlemen, I had the time of my life tonight. I love playing in Canada. Thomas, thank you very much. It was great. We played this afternoon at a nursing home. And I love playing homes. My father was recently diagnosed with Alzheimer's. I love playing in nursing homes. I love playing for my father because I could play, the same song over and over. He says, boy, is that new? You bet, Dad. Anyway, that's great. Ladies and gentlemen, this last piece is a piece called Here I Am. This is a little love song. My Anastasia, my little girl with Down syndrome, she was born with a very weak heart, a big, loving, beautiful heart, but a tough physical heart. And she needed a massive operation at 3 months old, and we didn't think she was going to make it. But she did, and she's doing great, and she's going strong, sometimes a little too strong, but she's fantastic, and it's such a joy to have her. But we didn't think she'd make it. I composed this piece, and it's just a little love song from a father to a daughter. This is Here I Am.
my hand when shadows hide your way.